This is how I landed the Prophet as my client. And if you don't know who the Prophet is the billionaire Marcus Lemonis. And this is a really fun story for me to tell because earlier on in my entrepreneurial career, I would watch every episode of the Prophet. Marcus Lemonis, if you don't know who he is, billionaire entrepreneur, founder of CEO and chairman of Camping World, RV World, Gander Outdoors, a big conglomerate of outdoor brands. Marcus had a TV show on CNBC called The Prophet. And the whole baseline of this TV show was he would go into these businesses that were either scaling or failing or needed help or just needed guidance and direction. And he would go in there, invest his own money and help fix them up. And the cool thing about this story is before I started working with Marcus, I loved the show. I loved how he came in and fixed companies. I loved everything about it. I actually remember earlier on in my career, like my roommates and I at the time would sit around on a Thursday night and watch the show together. We loved The Prophet and we loved the storyline. All of us were super entrepreneurial and it was the one show that we would get all together and watch it at the same time. And after a couple seasons of that show, I actually started my own agency, Breadloaf, and which was called Davos Digital at the time. I was looking for clients and hustling. So the story of how I actually got introduced to Marcus and his group was pretty interesting, but this is how it went. So when I started my agency, and it was called Davos Digital at the time before we rebranded as Breadloaf, I was looking for a little bit of more mentorship and guidance specifically around Facebook advertising and a lot of the technical updates. So I ended up joining this small Facebook advertising community. It was like 99 bucks a month, but it was John Loomer's group. And John Loomer early on was one of the best technical Facebook advertisers. He knew all the updates on the pixel side, on the strategy, on the technical side of building ads on the platform we know today as Meta. I joined that group, and through that group, one day I just threw out, hey, whoever's in this group, are you guys in LA? I'd love to do a meetup and meet some of you. And there was one guy in the group, his name is David Herman, and David and I became friends through that group in real life, met up. He lived down the road from me in Redondo, and David at the time was working with a couple of Marcus Lemonis's brands through his agency doing some Facebook advertising and a few other things for them. He said, you know what, they're expanding, they're looking for some more help, and I'd love to introduce you as well to help out on the digital marketing side with running retention, ads, and email. I got introduced to the group, which was called ML Creative, which was actually led by Travis Lubinsky, who was one of the founders of Flex Watches. Travis was running this internal group called ML Creative, which was essentially a group of brands that Marcus was investing in and running at the time. I got introduced. I was now working on Flex Watches, and soon after that onto Inkkas Shoes. And it was an incredible time. They had an office in downtown LA. We'd meet up once every couple weeks, sometimes every week, depending if we had big launches. And we would work on these brands, and we had a bunch of us, a couple different agencies and a couple of freelancers, and we were all working together to essentially grow these brands in this group and scale. Marcus was still filming episodes of The Prophet. So the cool thing about that, when there would be a new brand that would launch on the show, we would get introduced to that brand and we would help relaunch that brand on national television. It was an incredible time, very fast paced, lots of late nights, early mornings around launching these brands and making sure they were going to be super successful with the launch and all the free media that they were going to have through the launch on national television, and with the cult-like following around people that loved the show and Marcus in general. It was an incredible run for quite a few years, and through working with that group, I actually met my business partner Sean that I brought in, and we rebranded and launched Breadloaf. And through that, I actually bought Sean out a couple years later. It was an incredible experience, and still today, I still work with quite a few people that I was involved with in that group, Travis Lubinsky being one of them. Travis and I are good friends now and still work on a couple different projects at any given time. Marcus, for someone who's a billionaire, right, and is running a publicly traded organization, having a TV show. I was so shocked how involved he is in everything from licensing deals to product launches to profitability to team members to the bottom line. He is incredibly involved on the operations side of every single business that he invests into and he's a part of. He cares a lot, and he spends a lot more time than I ever thought someone that was high level would spend. So through that, you know, Marcus really preaches 3 different things if any business he goes into. It's people, process, and product. And I got to tell you, he is very involved in all those things, and he's all about having the right people, the right partners, and the right team to help grow these things. Hell, I'll even tell you, when he ended up getting married, he invited all of us to the wedding rehearsal party that they had the night before the wedding. It was incredible in LA. His family is a lot of the people he works with, and he really cares a lot about a lot of people. And I was so grateful to be able to work with him for all those years. Being able to work for these brands opened up so many doors, and not only just sharpening my axe and my sword, you know, and building my team and my business, but also just, you know, having these great case studies that we were able to grow and scale all these brands over these years and really build something super special. Over the years, we built and scaled this whole business and this whole group of brands. A couple of them were in the food group, a couple of them were in the fashion group. One of the food brands was Sweet Pete's Candy. That was one of the candy brands. I actually ran all digital for that for a while as well. But the 2 coolest brands, like I mentioned before, were Flex Watches and Inkkas Shoes. Man, when we were in our heyday, we were scaling to the moon with those 2 brands. We did licensing deals with Star Wars, with Minions, with WWE, and these were really just incredible opportunities, incredible licensing deals. We really got to see these brands grow through a very streamlined and very, very financially savvy operation we had going on there. So I will never forget the time I had, and also just the opportunity to be able to go from a fan and look up to someone like Marcus, who's a billionaire and had all this success in the business world, be able to work for his brands was just like something I manifested over time and was able to do. If there's someone that you think there's an opportunity with, you know, think about that. There is an opportunity to make it happen with them. And working with Marcus Lemonis as the prophet opened up so many doors to me, taught me so much about business growth, about finances involved in operating these brands, operating a group of brands together, and really what it takes to scale and to grow a group like this. So I cherish every moment I've had by working with that group. And eventually the show ended up ending after like 8 or 9 seasons. And Marcus moved over to do a couple of other things, but you know, a lot of those brands are still around here from this day. Some of them are gone, but at the end of the day, it's business. And you know, I learned a lot through that whole process. I hope you guys learned something today. Wanted to share my journey working with Marcus Lemonis, what it was like. I'll talk to you guys later. Hope you enjoyed it. Bye.